Forget top four. It's time for our assault on the title. This is the Arsenal Vision pre-match live stream. My name is Alex Smith, the Blackman Twitter Gang Gunner. Hello and welcome to our pre-match freakout about going to Old Trafford today. That's right. We are off to Old Trafford. We are not. I am not. Look at me. Does it look like I'm in Old Trafford? I don't know. But let's be honest. Most of the Manchester United fans aren't either. They're in London or wherever they are. Certainly not in Manchester. But that's okay. This is a big game. Manchester United. Really, Son's coach, Ralph Rangnick, not in charge yet. A chance for us to not just mount our assault on top four, dare I say mount our assault on the title. And, there are some decent teams at the top, but nothing we can't handle. I do think it is a little silly, this whole fetishization, as they might say, of a Jurgen Klopp, whose genius tactical innovation is go score 4 goals every game, lads. I mean, I can think of that. Hire me. Where's my money? Pay me my money. I will tell the players to go score 4 goals every game. Can I introduce everybody here? We're going to have a blast picking the lineup, freaking out about the lineup, predicting the game. I want to tell you the shtick. What's going to happen is Paul is going to predict a loss. I'm going to predict a win. And then on the instant reaction pod for patrons, I will freak out if it isn't a win. And Paul will tell you that he knew all along that it wasn't going to be good, but it's okay. And here's why. So here with me now is Jessica. You can find her on Twitter at It's Justino. Hello, Jess.
Hello. How are you?
Good to see you. How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm nervous. I look nervous. I am very, very nervous, but I'm good. Can't complain.
I'm nervous myself. We've got lots of comments and questions coming in, and we're going to be popping them all up on the screen. We're going to be reacting to the lineup together, but here to do that, the man who is always feeling positive, except when it comes time to predict the outcome, is Paul. You can find him on Twitter, Paz with my hands. Hello, Paz.
Woohoo! I
How
look
you doing?
a bit blurry. Good.
Honestly, we have a new setting for you that doesn't allow you to come in clear because that's what in the chat they said. Can you blur, Paul? We're using the ultra soft lens for you is what we're doing. Yeah. How have you been?
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Had a long meditation session this morning, so I'm very calm. Yep.
Yeah, I know you're in a tantra and all that nonsense. By the way, I would love Paul's song. Eddie Longbridge made a brilliant intro video for Paul that rivals Clive's intro video, but unfortunately, we got a copyright strike for it, even though it's basically like done on like a kazoo. But I don't know. We got a copyright strike for it. So it is what it is. Hello, everybody. Lots of people reacting. Elneny start. Wait, what? Is this real? Is this Jess? Paul, have you been on the internets? Is this real?
All I heard about was maybe possibly Martinelli. But I'm seeing a lot of
good God.
Elneny and Martinelli are starting. Yes.
This is real? This is real. Yeah. All right. So I guess we get into the freak out right away. Paul, I'll let you go first so we can get your nonsense, calm, rational take out of the way. And then Jess and I can flip out, which is what we're going to do. Paul, how okay are you with Elneny starting?
Not very.
Oh, good. Here we go. Let's
maybe we've decided to out United with their defensive kind of side-to-side passing attempts against Chelsea. Maybe we've decided to go one better, confuse the hell out of them, and have an even sider-to-sidier passing regime. But, I mean, I don't know that Elneny can do anything that Lokonga can't do.
Is he reporting who Elneny is starting in place of? I mean, is it possible that Partey is not fit again? And maybe it's going to be Lokonga and Elneny? Do we know what the...
I think if Partey wasn't starting, they would have said that. You know what I mean? Like he's one of those where if he's not playing, but I mean, I think this says a lot about probably what Arteta thinks about this match. He has not changed much and chose education in other big matches, and now is choosing experience in a match against Man United. So he probably maybe thinks we're a little bit closer to them than Liverpool and Man City. So if it is Elneny and Thomas Partey, at least we know that Partey will be able to push up a little bit more, which is what people want to see. But harsh on Sambi if he's not playing. I think that he earned a spot in this game. But hey, Elneny it is.
I mean, it's sort of weird because you have that workman-like midfield for United, right, Paul? I mean, there's not going to be any Pogba, I don't believe. It'll probably be Fred and McTominay. I mean, maybe he's got Elneny with a specific job. Maybe there's we think if someone follows Bruno Fernandes around and cancels him out, then they can't beat us. So let's have Elneny do that job. And I guess, to be fair, someone was saying, and I don't know if this is true, was it Elneny Partey in the midfield when we won at Old Trafford?
Yes.
So maybe it's just, go with what worked last time. But what do you think of that, Paul? If the thought process is Bruno Fernandes is the guy we have to neutralize, give Elneny the job to do that, and we're good.
I seem to remember Elneny playing to the right of Partey and kind of pushing up the right wing a little bit, supporting our attack. Maybe it provides a shelf for Odegaard up to the right. I don't really get it. I mean, we lauded Elneny for his hard work, his running, his pressing. But we're not a super pressing team at the best of times. Certainly not in midfield. We don't pressurize that much. I don't get it. I don't really get it. I don't get it.
Well, it seems like it's going to be all change. And I want to bring in Scott here. Scott's on Twitter at _that_cab. You get the idea. Hello, Scott.
Hello. You're throwing me off here. So yeehaw. Yeah, I'm just getting this Elneny news and ready to freak out about it.
Oh, freak out. Freak out, dude. Anyway, sorry. I always feel happy before the game, and that may be part of the problem. But I guess what I'd ask you, Scott, is the one thing that is starting to worry me. There's reports it's Elneny, there's reports it's Martinelli, there's reports it's Odegaard. I feel that we had started to settle into something that was working. And now, granted, I know Odegaard just played, and Martinelli did get a few minutes against Newcastle, but this feels like a lot of change for a big game from something that's working. So maybe you can give us your theory on why it might be Elneny, but also a little reaction to the idea that this feels like a lot of change for a big game.
Yeah, I mean, part of it could be just, Saka is out, so maybe that's why, Odegaard is coming in, maybe those kinds of things. I don't know. Maybe Odegaard is a guy who goes from the right because he's played there before in the past. Maybe that's the change that's going there. The Elneny one is the one that I still struggle with because I think he's played 63 minutes or league minutes so far this year. Mm-hmm. So this isn't like a guy who's
fresh.
Or you could say rusty, I guess, depending on which way you want to go with it. So it's bizarre. Why? I don't know. To me, it's like Ainsley Maitland-Niles has played more. If we're looking to really kind of mark somebody out kind of a thing, to me, that seems like, all right, he's probably a better defender in there. If we're looking to have a guy just come in to try to neutralize Bruno Fernandes, that one would make more sense to me. He's played more. He seems to have been higher in the pecking order. So it's kind of bizarre why all of a sudden now Elneny is jumping up. I guess, yeah, I mean, there was the partnership that last year when we went to go to Old Trafford and won, but that was November of last year. So that's a full year ago. And I don't think that really we saw Partey and Elneny together a lot after that. So it's not like this is some amazing partnership that we're reverting back to. That was kind of a one-off kind of thing. And it seems really weird to, go into that small sample size and read too much into it. So yeah, I'm freaking out. I don't love it. I thought Elneny should be a break in case of emergency kind of player. And I don't think we were at that emergency right now with our midfield, especially considering, really it's only Xhaka that's out. I thought Sambi has been playing well. I thought Ainsley Maitland-Niles was a fine third choice. Yeah, I don't know. I'm struggling for reasons.
Yeah, well, so Jess, I mean, look, there's a couple of things that we need to react to here. The Elneny thing, obviously, we're going to have to figure out what the thought process is there. I do think the danger man is Fernandes, and I do think that he could be set out with the job to mark him out of the game. We'll see. Saka being out, everybody's excited that Martinelli is starting, and I am as well. You know that I love me some green FB ref bars, but Saka is the oil in the engine. He is the player that can beat a man off the dribble. He can drop into midfield a bit. He makes everything happen on the right side, doesn't need a lot of help to do it. I think he's a big miss and maybe a player we've taken for granted a bit. So what are your thoughts on what we lose with Saka being out and maybe a little bit of what we gain if it is indeed Martinelli for Saka?
Well, we lose ball progression. That's the main thing. We lose somebody in between the lines that's brave enough to take the ball in high traffic areas and move us up the pitch if we're under pressure. And we lose a little bit of that mentality and that mindset. I think Saka did against Newcastle. He did what we would expect our older, more experienced players to do, which is, change the game, take the game by the scruff of the neck and do something with it. So for me, I feel like you lose a little bit of that, his mentality and what he can do on the ball. But what you add with Martinelli is something quite similar. He likes to attack the game and be a part of it. So if we allow him to be on the ball and do Martinelli things, I think he'll be just fine. Will he be able to drop in between the lines and be technically secure like Saka? No, but he does add that mindset and that go get it kind of mentality. So I do think Martinelli is a good fit. And this may be why you see Elneny in the side, because Thomas Partey needs to move up to progress the ball a little bit and add some security if Saka's not there, because I think Odegaard might struggle a little bit. So I think it's a little bit of shifting things around because Saka's not there, but Martinelli can add something to this game if we let him do his thing.
Well, that raises an interesting question then in terms of who does come in, though, Paul. And he's been out in the cold for a while, Nicola Pepe. I don't think we need to make this about Pepe because it's about the game and who's best for the game, but he didn't come on against Newcastle. It was Martinelli, pays dividends. A lot of us are excited to see it, but Pepe feels like the odd man out now. It is a big away trip. Nicola Pepe has come up big in some big games, not a ton of them, but some big games. Are you reading anything into this? Are you surprised it's not Pepe, or does it just feel like for right now, that's not the player that Arteta wants, doing the job for him?
It seems like a mix of approaches from Arteta, which, look, it's fine. You're always going to have a mixing of approach. He's brought in Elneny for no great reason that we can see at the moment. Lokonga's done nothing wrong. Maitland-Niles has been good, but he's brought in Elneny.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second, Paul? Let me just interrupt for 1 second. There was some confusion over the time that we were starting the stream or whatnot, or there may have been so if you're seeing another stream time, this is the stream. Yeah. There is in the Phantom Zone, the Phantom versions of us are doing a different stream where I'm extremely positive and Paul's extremely negative, and Scott doesn't know numbers and Jessica doesn't know anything about football. But in this realm, it's these people doing their thing. So apologies for that. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so it feels like he's rewarding Martinelli for the performance, which is consistent with what he said he was doing with Nuno, what he's done with a number of our players, and yet he shook up the midfield, which, don't get me wrong, it's you can have more than one interweaving approach and you do what's right for the team, but Elneny is just a shut out from nowhere. We didn't see that one coming. So giving Martinelli a go, Odegaard behind him. It's going to be very interesting to see if Odegaard can hit Martinelli on the burst in behind. The one thing we haven't had, Saka's pretty good at running in behind. Jairzinho. Jess talked about how he drops in between the lines into the pocket there. Between the lines in terms of space, but he also runs in behind. But obviously Martinelli's real strength will be maybe to focus even more on running in behind and running in towards the penalty area. Saka doesn't always go straight to the penalty area. Maybe we'll have some more directness there, and Odegaard's job will be to catch that, to see the run and to hit him quickly as he's getting in behind the United line. So it's going to be really interesting to understand why the Elneny thing, though.
Yeah. Well, the team news is in, so the only thing we can do now is react. And Scott, I'll give you the first reaction. You see the lineup at the bottom there. Saka on the bench, I believe, is the latest team news. But I wonder, so the Elneny selection is the one that's going to jump out. The Pepe thing, it is what it is where we are with that player right now. Martinelli favored over him. I'm a little surprised it's not Lacazette instead of Odegaard, if I'm honest. But the big call is Elneny. And I wonder if there's two things at play here, Scott. So one thing we saw against Newcastle was that the ball really flowed through Sambi Lokonga, and Partey was sitting deeper, playing more of the defensive midfielder role and not facilitating as much. And I noticed two things in Newcastle, or against Newcastle. One, Partey wasn't particularly involved in the passing moves. And two, he did get bypassed a bit, maybe not fully fit. Is there a thought here that by bringing in Elneny, Partey can do more of what Sambi was doing against Newcastle, be a little higher up the pitch, do what he's good at, punch those balls between the lines, be more of the hub of the passing game, but give Elneny the responsibility to kind of cover in behind just give the ball to Partey and get out of the way, so to speak, and follow Bruno Fernandes around. Is this an attempt to free Partey up for the role that Sambi was kind of taking and take that responsibility off him?
I mean, I think you can make that argument, but I think I'd still have the question then, if he's not fully fit, can he do a lot of the things that we want him to be able to do on the ball, to be able to do more of the box-to-box stuff? If he doesn't have the fitness to really just kind of sit in front of a defense, does he have the fitness to, be involved both sides of the pitch, kind of a thing? I think one of the things that I think we also saw, Taita talked about this with Clive too, is that he did more covering, I think, for Tomiyasu, who was more involved going forward. Against Newcastle, that was the most he had ever really kind of ventured forward since kind of coming into the team. So maybe that was kind of it. He did seem to be a little bit more of a decoy, in the sense that Newcastle tried to take him out of the game. He was the one that they focused on trying to make it so we're not going to let him beat us. We're going to, make the kid try to do stuff. And thankfully he did. I still struggle with that. If we wanted somebody,
it's got to be about Bruno Fernandes, right? It's got to be about stopping him. Elneny, disciplined. Lokonga, a bit lightweight, and kind of we've used him a little off to the left and leaving Partey on his own. I think they just don't want to leave Partey as the one mature player in the midfield. And am I right, Scott, that Lokonga's a little light on the defensive work in midfield? Not for the want of effort. He just doesn't have the.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's necessarily he's light in it, but I think that he can lose his position sometimes, which is something that's kind of understandable for people that age, to kind of get drawn to the ball, lose who you're tracking, do those kinds of things. So I think that's a fair, reasonable choice to make, to be able to do something like that. I don't know. I guess it does come down to your perspective of, are you trying to set up your team to maximize what you can do, or are you focused too much on trying to, I guess, deal with the other team's strengths? So I think this kind of comes down to which one you favor from that. I see why you do it. I think, again, I would rather have Maitland-Niles there, I think, personally. I think I've been more impressed with him, with what he's able to do. And if we're going to look for somebody who's probably our best one-on-one defender in midfield, I think it would have been Ainsley Maitland-Niles, if we're going to give him the job of trying to do something there. But I guess that's just my own personal preference.
Yeah. Jess, I want to get your thoughts on the United lineup. Diogo Dalot replaces Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That's a big call and a surprising call. Cristiano Ronaldo starts. I know that wasn't the case against Chelsea. I mean, obviously it scares the crap out of me, but I think it is fair to say that they are a worse team, but maybe a more dangerous opponent, if that makes sense. What do you think of this, the mix and match here? I mean, up front, though, with Sancho, Fernandes, Rashford, and Ronaldo, they're going to give you fits. And, Nuno Tavares, another big start against really dangerous opposition. So thoughts on their switch to Dalot and the decision to start Ronaldo?
Yeah, I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka has come under a lot of criticism this season and last season. I don't think the United fan base is necessarily on his side so much. I think with him, they've spent 50 million on a right back that can't really do anything in attack. He's a good shutdown defender, but that's pretty much it. But it doesn't concentrate a lot. So I think he was always kind of on the fringe, about a game away from being dropped. And today is the day. And I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't something told to Carrick from Rangnick. I think he does have some influence in some way. They may not play differently, but he might want to just see something else. Dalot is not that much better than Aaron Wan-Bissaka, though. Like, I don't think their fullbacks are necessarily super strong with any of the options that they have. And Telles hasn't played a lot. So Martinelli needs to be running at that right back, really for sure. And I don't know. I think when it comes down, like this game, their attack, that's pretty much their best possible attack, like by far. Like that's what you don't want to see. But they still have the same issues that have led them to be in the position that they're in right now, which is the players in behind them are not great. Their defense is not great. Their midfield is not great. So I think it's going to come down to the midfield. I think our attack needs to be able to attack their defense, and our defense needs to be able to keep their really good attack out. The game's going to be won in the midfield, and that's why looking at that on any decision, I think we'll come back to that after the game and kind of decide whether or not we thought that was the right choice, because it could be the difference between us winning and losing.
Yeah, I want to just bring something up real quick, Paul, that I didn't notice, but Derek Flores did, along with a few others, Colin Boppel as well. No Leno on the bench. January move away, injury, speculation. Guesses?
Yeah.
What do you got?
No, my guess would be like in the summer, part of my rationale for Ramsdale was I didn't know he was going to be this good, but I certainly thought he'd help us get Leno's agent in gear because there's a World Cup coming up. But if he's moving in January, we still need like a backup keeper, and a Conquo who we saw during the summer looked very, very raw, very, 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 very raw. He's not ready for prime time.
Unpleasant.
Yeah. I mean, he's got talent. He's got a lot of things going for him. Readiness was not one of the things he had going for him. So, Runnerson, he seems to be happy on his loan. Like, boy, does it fall off really good from having two fairly high-level Premier League ready keepers to, holy crap, which outfield player can pull on the shirt? So yeah. I don't know that we're ready to leave Leno, but he might be ready to leave us because he wants to play in the World Cup.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I would say that where we are right now with this game, Scott, like, let's just talk a little bit about what's on the line here tonight. I mean, bragging rights, wanting to beat United, you just want to win the game because you want to win the game. But, you look at the gap we can put between us and United, where the only game they have left against us is at the Emirates. This feels like a tipping point, because if you said to me right now, Arsenal aren't going to get top four, who do you think will? I'd still probably say United, right? Even though they look like crap. They got Rangnick coming in. There's a lot of talent there. They could still spend in January. You'd still think that it's probably them. But if we put, what would this be, an 8-point gap on them having won away? Right now. Yeah. Suddenly, I mean, you really create an ability to enhance your odds. So you're the data guy. What would the top four odds look like for us and United if this game goes our way tonight? Because I feel like there is this isn't the game you want to go into. I don't think saying, again, a point at Old Trafford is always fine. But I think the payoff, if you can beat a reeling Old Trafford, reeling United with no manager, it's got to be a huge monster top four boost.
Yeah, I think so. This would be a great one to send before, and I could have actually run the different simulations and tell you the exact how it changes. But right now it's about 1-5 for Arsenal to be top four, and I think that feels about right. You kind of look at this, the top three, that's pretty much set in stone. I don't really see any of those teams outside of like some sort of like major thing happening to them falling out of the top four. So it is really all the teams kind of behind them chasing for that last spot. Arsenal, by where they are currently in the table, are looking pretty good. So even though the performances haven't been great, where we have accumulated points is putting us in a good position. I think that you can kind of see some green shoots about the way we're playing. But if we're able to collect another 3 points here, that would put us into fourth place. That would give us a good 8-point gap on our, probably the most direct rival. Because I think Manchester United, if you looked at it from the start of the season, I think that you could say that they were probably coming in the fourth best team. That would put us in a good spot above Spurs. I know we'll have a game in hand on them, but that would also give us a 7-point gap on them, depending on how their match tonight ends. So I think if you looked at that, that would be a really good spot. So I think if we went from 20% starting, I think you might get us into the 30-ish% range, which when you consider where we were, when the season officially started, after that transfer window ended, I think we'd all be quite happy to say that we have a 1-3 chance to make top four if we were looking at the beginning of December.
Lots of Leno groin news coming in as you were talking. So if you are into the Leno groin news, it is in the chat. It is on the screen. Leno's groin is tight. I mean, good for him, I guess. I don't know.
I thought this was going to turn into a Manscaped promotion.
Oh, man. If only I had thought of that. Well, let's talk just about what we would take here, because I think especially when you look at the other results. The results have kind of been going our way, and I think this is going to be the thing all season. Like West Ham's going to drop points, and Leicester's going to drop points, and United, even with Rangnick, the team isn't perfect. They're going to drop points. We'll drop points. Like other than Liverpool, Chelsea, and City, this is going to be an attritional season, and it's going to kind of be whoever survives is going to be on top. And I do sort of think the reward for winning at Old Trafford and putting an 8-point gap between us, given that results kind of went our way already this week, and that we face a pretty bad Everton next, who will be without Rondon, without Dominic Calvert-Lewin, like I kind of say go for it. You know, the reward of 3 points today and what it can do for a top 4 race, I just don't know that the difference between 1 and 0 today is all that relevant versus what 3 points does for you in the context of the upcoming games and where we sit in an attritional top 4 battle. So what do you expect from the game in terms of, are we going to go for this? Or do you think the lineup is a bit of a tipping of our hand at more of a counterattacking style?
Well, let me just say this. If you had told me after those first 3 games that we'd be anywhere near the top 4 and we'd be having a conversation about us being able to get into the top 4 if we beat Man United, you know, away from home, I'd be like, what are you saying? You know, so knowing that, you know, this game could take us 8 points clear of them and then get us into the top 4 free and clear, to me, you definitely have to go after it. You have to go after it, because if you lose, you don't take any points. The results have went our way, and we would still be within a point of the top 4 going into a game against Everton. So I think this is the type of game that you actually have to go for. And that's really why I kind of see this Elneny edition more of something like, let's go for it. Let's push party up. Let's get a more experienced lineup out there, because we got to go for it. You know, I think against City and Liverpool, maybe Arteta thought, let's just go for education. I really think that this might be a look towards bringing in an experienced midfielder and pushing party up. So I hate to even think about getting into the top 4 and doing it off of the back of beating on one of our biggest rivals, but we have to go for it. If we don't, we might look back at this and be like, why didn't we take this opportunity? I think these opportunities, they will come again, but we have to take advantage of them at least one time. And this would be the best time to do it. So that's how I kind of feel.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. Joy, love you. Thank you. I know the Spotify Wrapped was going around, and thanks to everybody who shared with us that you shared some of your year with us, and we're glad to share it with you and glad to be sharing this with you now. A lot of people not liking my theory, Paul, on we go for 3 here, because people are pointing out, and I didn't realize this, if we get 0, then United get the 3. So it turns out that it works both ways. But I guess it's just like, there are very few chances to go to Old Trafford and face a United team in this kind of state. To be fair, the past few years, there have been a lot of chances to do that. But, I watched them play Chelsea, and I realized, like, you know, they got a random goal from a major Chelsea era, Jorginho era, I believe it was. But, like, they looked really crappy. They've looked crappy most of the season. And I just feel like, I don't know, I would like to see us go beat United at Old Trafford again, because that's really fun. And you're not going to face a United that's this weak with this kind of regularity. So I guess I'm curious where you stand on going for it and trying to get the 3 and realizing the risk that's associated with that. Because for me, it's like, part of the season is about where you finish, and part of the season is about great memories. And beating United at Old Trafford is a memory you keep for a while. And you don't get a lot of chances to go face them looking like they kind of look like right now, you know?
Yeah. Look, I think if you're Arteta, if you're this team, you say you one game at a time, and you look at this game and you say, we have a chance here. We have a chance at Old Trafford to really build some momentum. And I think you do go for it. You don't go crazy. You don't go stupid, but you go smart. And Elneny is a little bit conservative, but if it frees up party, then so be it. If Elneny keeps an eye on Fernandes, I mean, they got a very dangerous front 4 between, Sancho, Rashford, Ronaldo, and Fernandes. So, and we're not the most possession-oriented team. I think we're probably still a bit below the 50% mark, Scott, are we, across the season, or at least not much above it if we've crept up that level with maybe some weaker fixtures we played recently. So Old Trafford at home, this could be quite an even game in terms of possession, in terms of back and forward. It kind of pulls United out of being too defensive. And that might suit us in our own way, in that we won't be against too deep a block here. Could be a fairly even game where we'll have our periods and our chances. And if we can get the goal first, maybe we'll come out strong. Maybe we'll come out pushing. I mean, you got Martinelli in the front line, probably our best presser. And then you got Aubameyang, you got Smith Rowe, and you got Odegaard are all probably our 4 best pressers in the team. Maybe part of the logic is to do what we've done against a number of good teams away from home and go at them early and try and get the first goal and get a result. Get the result here, get the 3 points. So I'd be interested to see if we have a pressing game against them.
This is the funniest comment I've seen literally since we've been doing live streams. If we get a pen, who takes it? We're at Old Trafford. We're not getting a penalty. That's not how this works. The question is, who's taking their 3 penalties?
That's how we won last time, though, Elliot.
Oh, God. You know what?
Last time we beat them with a penalty.
It's rare that I can make myself look so stupid so quickly. It usually it marinates over a period of time. But
we've been doing this for half an hour.
It wasn't an anomaly,
though, right?
Yeah, I built up to it. Scott, let's talk about what we expect from the game, though, in terms of actual play. I mean, I do sort of wonder, we've been having more of the ball lately, but we are a team that generally has not been possession oriented until more recently. Manchester United aren't exactly a ball dominant team. They got absolutely destroyed by Chelsea in terms of possession. I think they had like 28% possession or something like that.
Yeah, and only 3 shots too.
Yeah. I mean, everything about them is broken, but they have the ability to hurt you. Ordinarily, if this were at the Emirates, I think that they would be comfortable wanting to play on the counter. I don't think they can afford to do that in front of the faithful at Old Trafford. We know Rangnick is a pressing coach, but he's not there yet. He hasn't been involved with them yet. And I don't think you're picking Cristiano Ronaldo to go institute an effective press. So I'm really sort of confused about what we might see from United. So what do you expect from the game in terms of the patterns of play?
So what's actually interesting is that the teams are very similar. When I was looking at the stats between them, Arsenal and Manchester United kind of have the same kind of issues that we have. Neither team really presses all that much. Neither team presses all that effectively. Both teams are relatively easy to pass against. When you look at the way that we're able to kind of generate, the strengths and those things, both of the teams look a little bit better in attack than they do in defense. Actually, Arsenal are ranked 7th in both attack and defense in my model. Manchester United are like 6th and 16th. So they've been a little bit worse in the defense portion, even though the numbers look roughly the same, except for they've been beat kind of bad lately, especially you look at the XG that they gave up against Watford and Chelsea. Those have really pushed down their numbers. Looking at where they create from, it's definitely, they use Bruno Fernandes kind of floating all over the place. It seems actually kind of interesting that it comes from the right primarily. So this is going to be another big test for Tavares to be able to shut that down. I think Sancho has actually started to look a little bit better over the last couple of weeks, especially when, his first month or so looked like he was going to be a massive flop for them, but I think he's made some adjustments into there. I'm a little bit worried about him. I would have rather seen Mason Greenwood, because if you talk about players that really don't do much pressing, if you have Greenwood, Fernandes, Ronaldo up front, that would have been absolutely zero effective pressing. Those are all guys that really just want to kind of sit there and wait for the ball to come to them. So I think that they are set up well to counter. If it's going to be interesting, because I think I would rather see Arsenal maybe sit back a little bit and not be open for the counter, and make them break us down, because that's something that they have not shown any ability to do at all this year. And look to see if there's any chance for Arsenal to make some counterattacking moves through here. So maybe that is actually kind of the other thought of bringing in Elneny. We're going to be a little bit more solid. We're going to try to counter through, you think about Martinelli and Aubameyang. Those are guys that I would love to see get into space attacking their backline, because I don't think their backline is very good. I don't think their midfield is especially good at blocking things. I think what they did against Chelsea would have been probably a little bit more concern for me if they brought out 3 defensive midfielders instead of just the 2. So, yeah, I expect it to be a game that's pretty even 50-50 possession-wise. Not a lot of pressing from either teams. It's probably going to be who's able to not make a mistake in this match.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe that is influencing the Elneny choice, right? I mean, he's solid. I've never been a fan of solid, but he's solid.
Yeah.
Just
an interesting one more. Yeah. So I was looking at this beforehand. So yeah, just kind of seeing what the betting market does on the news of Elneny. So looking at this before the Elneny lineup, the choice, it was about 45 to 47% for Manchester United favored. After it's looking now between 49 and 52%. So the market does not like Elneny.
I don't think we should be basing our analysis on a bunch of gambling addict stuff. You know
But the gambling addicts are smart.
They're real smart, though. And then they take over clubs like Brentford and they bring them up to the Premier League, for God's sakes. Jess, one thing we haven't talked about, to be fair, is, I want to be clear. This is right. I'm your dummy. Doesn't matter that I'm a dummy. I am your dummy. I am here for you to be your dummy. And God bless you for noticing it. Jess, we haven't talked a lot about the Tierney thing. I mean, Tavares, if I told you in August, we'd be going to Old Trafford and Tavares starts ahead of Tierney and Tierney's fit to play, you'd be thinking, wow, that must be the talking point of all talking points. And we haven't even mentioned it. I think it is such an incredible reflection of his quality and the manager's faith in him that we're just kind of like, Tavares, okay, man of the match, nearly against Newcastle. I mean, not man of the match, but great performance against Newcastle, 1 error against Liverpool, fine. What's your take on that? I mean, do you think that maybe there's hubris involved here, that we should be going back to our experienced guy? Is Tierney maybe carrying a little bit of a knock? There was some reference to that when he played for Scotland over the international break. What's your take on the fact that we're not laser focused on what would have been probably perceived as a huge controversy a few months ago and now doesn't feel like one?
I love
still feels controversy. Okay.
Tierney's one of my favorite Arsenal players. I think he's one of everybody's favorite Arsenal players. So it's weird that the first, battle for a starting spot comes to him first. I think we would have preferred it to be Granit Xhaka or somebody like that. It's Tierney. It's a team favorite. It's a club favorite. It's a fan favorite. And one of our best performers over the last maybe 12 to 16 months, but beyond him having these injuries. But I think it's just timing and the way that things have really come about for Tierney. He had an injury and then it kept him out. And then the person that came in and stepped in for him did a lot better than I think people thought. And not only did he do a good job, but he offers us something different that Tierney doesn't really offer us. I think there's something about having 2 feet that Arteta's really liking with our fullbacks right now. I can't really deny that. I don't think that.
Wait, I gotta jump in. All of our fullbacks currently have 2 feet. I just want to be clear about that.
Well, they can use 2 feet. They can use 2 feet. So, I think Tavares adds something a little bit different that maybe Arteta just really likes, and we just have to write it out. I think next time Tierney gets a chance to play, which will come, he has to rip the shirt off of Nuno's back. I think it's Nuno's to lose at this point. And so it's difficult to see Tierney on the outskirts, but if Tierney's anything like what we think that he is, he'll take this challenge and try to rise to it. Now the narrative that's kind of coming, because we try to connect 1 and 2, we try to connect things together, and it's, well, he's, Tierney is an Emery player and Arteta just didn't like any Emery players. I don't know if I feel like it's necessarily that. I just think that this is a very specific situation where somebody came in and did so well that he's hard to drop, but he has special skills that really help a team that struggle to get forward and struggle to get into the box and struggle to create chances. So Tierney just has to, when he finally gets back into the team, he has to beat Nuno for the spot. But I feel no anxiety. I don't, And
I feel no anxiety going to Old Trafford. God bless you. And send your drugs to me FedEx overnight. Priority.
In regards to left back, I don't feel as much anxiety, because Nuno is a good player.
It is fascinating though, isn't it? I mean, I was fairly sure Tierney would come back in for this game. Arteta spoke brilliantly, I thought. I think it's probably the best presser he did when he talked about why he kept Nuno in. I think we all heard it, so I don't need to go over it again, but he explained you got to back your young players, especially when they make a mistake, not just to back them, but just so that everybody else, every other young player, every other player knows that if you play bravely and you make a mistake, the manager will still back you. And that's why he kept him in for the last game against Newcastle. Made perfect sense to everybody. But that gave him the license to bring Tierney back in for this game, this huge game against United, where you need experienced, savvy against Sancho or whoever was going to play on the right. It was probably going to be Sancho because he's on a run and he's scoring goals. He was going to be kept in. So this tells us that it wasn't just that he wanted to back a young player because he had the liberty to do it against Newcastle because they're not the strongest team in the world. Like, he's chosen Nuno again. There's something going on here, and it's beyond backing a young player who did well and you don't want to take the shirt off him. He didn't have to play him today. So it's very, very interesting. But that section with Arteta talking, it wasn't just what he said, it was how he talked. It seems like he's really feels he's got his place himself, Arteta, in front of the camera explaining his rationale.
Yeah, I want to talk positions for a minute, though, Scott, because, and as Clive always points out, the game isn't just who starts, it's also who finishes. And we have a bench that looks like it's got a lot of finishers today. Pepe's in there, Saka's in there, Lacazette is in there, Sambi Lokonga's in there if we need more ball progression. So we may start out trying to play a little more on the counter, a little cagier, with the ability to open it up a bit later. United coming out all guns blazing in terms of their attacking players. But I'm kind of curious what you think, how the front line lined up. So one of the things that I'm thinking is, Martinelli did come in on the right against Newcastle and scored his wonder goal, right? But we don't think of him as a traditional right-sided player, I don't think. And I have a little inkling, could it be Martinelli on the left? And then Odegaard plays on the right, and Smith Rowe comes in for more of a central role, because he does like that left footer on the right and the right footer on the left. Or do you think it's purely just what we saw when Martinelli came on for Saka against Newcastle?
So I'm going to take these a couple questions here. I felt like there was inside that.
It's a single question. How do the forwards line up? It's written on the screen down there. Answer the question. Stop being, always with the criticism, my question asking. I don't,
But I think this is but I wanted to bring one of the things that you talked about. So talking about the starters versus finishers, because I think that's something that Jonas on the women's team really kind of tries to talk about too. And I think Tim has talked this too. It's that you're not necessarily getting dropped in. Just because you're a starter doesn't mean you're not a finisher. And I think that's something that I think Arsenal are able to plan for. And it feels like we have a much better team depth-wise to where we can, if things are, maybe not going the way we want to be able to change it from the bench. And I feel that that's something that has gotten a lot better this season. We have different guys who can do different things depending on how the game goes. So I think that's something that'll be really interesting to see and to be able to have that, where in the past, I feel like in the last 2 or 3 years, we haven't been able to do that. So it is kind of nice to be able to have finishers, not just starters here. And then how I think the players will line up. I do think that we'll see Martinelli nominally start from the right. So I think it will be, Smith Rowe, Odegaard, Martinelli. But like how Saka was able to have that freedom to kind of switch over to the left, I think that we will see a lot of that. I hope that, all of our players, I think, should feel pretty comfortable in that attacking band, being able to take up whichever position they want to be able to do in there. I think as long as we're kind of occupying the 5, lanes in there, who lines up where is kind of, where it ends up that way. So I think it's not going to be that we have to be super structured. I think we will take up the positions, but who takes them up will be able to be a bit fluid. But I do expect Martinelli to nominally start on the right with our kind of thing that we saw at the end of that.
Is it that simple, Jess? I mean, there's a tendency to sort of galaxy brain, because the one thing we know is that we don't have, other than Aubameyang, who looks pretty clearly to be sort of our center forward of sorts now, the rest of these players have the ability to sort of float around the front line. Smith Rowe could be a 10. He could be a left-sided forward. Odegaard can be a 10. He could be a right-sided forward. Martinelli is just a chaos agent running around trying to get in the box and score all the goals, which makes me very happy. But they do have the ability to be interchangeable to some extent, even though we've seen Smith Rowe's role be pretty consistent this season. And Odegaard, when he's played, his role has been pretty consistent. But the removal of Saka and the introduction of Martinelli shakes that up a bit. So do you think it is just what we saw against Newcastle, or shake up?
I think it's kind of what we saw against Newcastle. I think, and I would like to see Martinelli run at Alex Telles. He hasn't played a lot of minutes. He's not in my mind, a very good defender. And it's the closer Martinelli is to Maguire running into that channel, the better we are. So I prefer him on that side. And then ESR, he's been playing perfectly fine on that left-hand side. And, you know, partnerships are really important. I know Yo-Yo's in the chat box, and Yo-Yo always talks about that. That you know, Tavares and
there's a bunch of yo-yos in the chat box today. I noticed.
You know what? No one loves insulting the listener like Paul. It's his face. It's why his mug says "fuck him" on it.
Fuck him.
Yeah, but I mean, Nuno and ESR have been playing really well with each other, and you don't really want to break that apart in a game where we're going to be away from home and we need some familiarity. So I would think that it's exactly what we're looking at, you know. So if he switched it up, he's galaxy braining it. Just keep people close to where they've been in the last couple of games, you know.
I have a thought, Elliot.
Yeah. What?
So I think we'll line up.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think we'll line up with Martinelli on the right, Smith Rowe on the left, Odegaard in the middle as the 10. It's going to be a pressing lineup. We're going to press the BJs out of them. That's why Nuno's on. He's really good at pushing up and getting back, but he's really good at the Gegen pressing, a one-man Gegen press, the recovery run, the turnover run. So I think, I think part of the reason Nuno's on is because we're going to press, and he's very, very effective pressing in the final third.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough, Paul. I think that could be a big part of it. So, well, all right. I mean, we'll start around the corner here. We'll go about another 15 minutes, and I want to get your predictions. By the way, we do have a little over 1,000 of you across a different series of platforms that I don't totally understand watching, and I want to say thank you so much. We always say here, gently caress the like button and the subscribe button. And one of the things that I am waging a war against is this idea that you should smash the like button. It is a thing that I just don't understand why this has become part of the lexicon of streaming, because our devices are something we use constantly. They're not inexpensive to acquire. And the idea that you should be smashing it, I think, is irresponsible behavior from a series of content creators. And we are trying to change the culture. So do it for the culture. Gently caress the like and subscribe button. Oh, God, JJ already smashed. So much smashing.
Yeah,
so
much
smashing.
Should be us getting smashed, right?
We got a super sticker. Thank you for the super sticker.
Holy shit.
Appreciated, greatly appreciated. I'm not sure what we did to earn it, but it is
or how much that is.
Barely over 20 likes for our 1,050 people watching. But to be fair, I don't really like it either. And Paul did call you a yo-yo, so why would you like it anyway? Okay, let's move on. Let's start to get to prediction time here a bit. Jess, I'm going to start with you. It is really interesting because defensively we are a pretty good team, and in attack we haven't thought of ourselves that way. United, they're the opposite. They've got tons of firepower up front, and they are terrible defensively. So it feels like the resistible force meeting the movable object. So which has to give? Does that fearsome attacking for United cause us more problems than maybe we've seen in the past? Or is there weakness at the back exploited? How do you see it? Wait, Anton, where are you, buddy? Hang on. There you go.
For the culture.
Big love to Anton. For the culture, gently caressing us for the culture. Thank you for the caress. Okay, come on, Jess. Who rises up and reigns supreme? Obviously the Arsenal, but why?
So I think at this point, I think they're too strong offensively for me to think that they're not going to do anything. But the reality is that midfield is the reason why they don't win games, in the defense. So if we can keep them from getting the ball to those players that are inevitably going to want to run in behind, then I think we have a very good chance of getting something away from home. So it really comes down to Thomas and Elneny and Odegaard to do their jobs. And I back them to be better than Fred and McTominay, because that's pretty much who they have to be going up against. So I think it's going to be really close. I think it's going to be cagey. It needs to be close. We cannot be going away from home to one of our biggest rivals and getting smashed. So I'm actually going to go with a 1-1 here. I think we get some sort of weirdish bobble around and somebody just toe pokes it into the back of the net. And Ronaldo, as inevitable as he is, he gets his usual goal and we go away from here with a point.
I mean, I don't know if I would take it, but the thing is, Paul, the Diego Dallo thing has really thrown me a bit, because I think that whatever you want to say about Wan-Bissaka is a shutdown defensive fullback. And that left side tends to be where we focus our attacks in buildup. And like Tavares, Smith Rowe, Aubameyang connecting over there. Maybe Martinelli floats over and gives like, I don't know what Carrick is thinking. If it's Carrick's choice, I don't know who's really running the club right now, but my goodness, like that looks like, oh, all right, Wan-Bissaka is injured. My bad. I did not know that because I don't, care at all about Manchester United. But I mean, is that the side, Paul? Just go exploit that left side and see what Dallow's got about him?
Yeah, look, Wan-Bissaka, I thought he'd been dropped because he's been bad. And certainly there was a lot of talk about whether they drop him or not. So, hey, whatever. It's Diogo Dalot now. He's okay. He's nothing special. We got some legs on that side of the pitch. I definitely think we get at them at that side. We also find out on their left side how much they want to defend against Martinelli running in behind. So it is about those pairings. It'll be about Odegaard and Martinelli on one side. It'll be about Smith Rowe and Nuno getting at them on the other side. I think Arteta has guessed correctly that they're going to be just as vulnerable at the back. You know, they haven't gone with the 5-man at the back. They can't really at Old Trafford against us. We don't warrant it in terms of their mind space. Look, I think this is absolutely 100% Carrick. There's no way.
Hudson-Odoi stood on Aaron's hand the other day, so he's in a fair bit of pain. It was touching. Give me a break. Tell me you don't want to play a player without telling me you don't want to
drop him. They've been itching to drop him. Look, Carrick absolutely. I don't think this is Rangnick at all. You don't 25% pick a team. This is Carrick's team. This will be his last game in charge as manager. He's picked the lineup he's happy with. He wants a result. He wants a draw or a win. He wants it to be more progressive than the Chelsea game because he doesn't want that to be his reputation. He's an overly conservative manager who picked two teams and went safe at Old Trafford. So they're going to play us. They're going to play reasonably progressive attacking football for United. And there won't be any tweaks to what they do a la Rangnick. It'll be 100% Carrick, and then Rangnick takes over tomorrow. And that's when, you can't coach this shit from 200 miles away. Do you remember the story about Wenger?
Commitment right there, by the way, 3:52 a.m. Jesus.
His first game before he was in charge, Pat Rice was coaching, and Wenger at halftime said, "Hey, why don't you switch formations?" And we lost. Right? You don't start fiddling with the team you never met from 200 miles. He's got enough on his plate getting his visa sorted. This is Carrick's team. It'll play in a Carrick way. It'll be a 4-2-3-1. They'll want to match us, get a draw or a win at Old Trafford and play reasonably progressive football.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess, Scott, let's just think for a minute here before we get out of here of what could happen in terms of substitutions, right? Like, is this a game that you think by the way, I would take an 8-2. My God, would I take an 8-2? Is this a game that you think could be decided by the firepower on the bench with Lacazette, Saka, and Pepe? I know there's a lot of jokes about Pepe is not an important player for us anymore, but that is looking like a pretty good amount of firepower on the bench to bring in, depending on the shape Saka's in. So do you think it's a keep it tight and try to win it off the bench? What's your thought on the influence of who we have in reserve?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that's really kind of nice because I think if you looked at the benches right now, I think Arsenal's bench is significantly better. We are not nearly as depleted with injuries. I think one of the things that I kind of keep thinking is that I feel like Ronaldo's been like especially a prick lately, and like he's been kind of living on the edge with some of the things. And I would love to see him just get a red card today and like absolutely then have Arsenal just dominate things. That's kind of where my head has gone, where I'm trying to talk myself into how this match is going to go. I imagine like a 30-minute red card for Ronaldo and Arsenal see this out as like a 2-0 win is how I would love to see things go. Just, a nice, easy, dominant performance against 10 men. One other thing I want to say is Michael Carrick the English Mohamed Elneny with his passing? That's always kind of the vibe that I got from him. Just wanted to see if anybody else
very
has those
very
thoughts.
safe, comfortable pass. By the way, one thing we haven't
Well,
touched
he's a very
on,
good distributor, though, and good on the long ball and the switches and good on the tempo. He was good. He was more their Arteta, I think.
Yeah.
As we get out of here, Jess, one thing we haven't touched on, they did bring Harry Maguire back in. He's had a shocker of a season. And I have to admit, like, I wasn't sure where I stood on wanting Maguire to start today or not. And I think I came down on the idea that I think I do want him to start, but I'm curious. Yeah. What do you think? I mean, he's a guy who, especially with the ball at his feet, my God, he's so bad. Like, and he's having a bad season. I'm curious. What do you think? Would you have preferred to have seen, I guess, who would it have been for though? Who dropped out? Was it Bai? Yeah. What do you think?
For me, it doesn't really matter. I think their center backs are interchangeably bad. Like, they're all kind of the same-ish. Nobody really stands out for me. Maguire, when he's on his game, he's good, but he's not great. And that's why I like the Martinelli call, because Martinelli should cause that left-handed side of their defense some problems, like if we allow him to do what he does best. And so I could see a mistake from Maguire or anybody from that back line if we put them under pressure. I don't think you could look at that Chelsea match and say, you know what, they looked really defensively secure. It was more Chelsea didn't put away their chances. They had tons of chances, didn't put them away. If we get one half chance, we have to turn it into a full chance. If we get a full chance, we have to get it in the back of the net. We have to, because we won't get many, but if we get them, the one that they give away, we have to put it in the back of the net.
All right, well, let's make predictions then on what we do put in the back of the net. Paul, what's your prediction for the game?
I'm thinking...
Get your predictions in comments. Let's get them in here.
Yeah. I think 2-0 to United.
He loves it. He loves to lower expectations. The soft bigotry of low expectations.
I think we're going to miss Saka. We're going to miss his connections in terms of passing. Yeah, I think, unfortunately, this will be the game that United do us 2-0.
You were right last time, weren't you?
He went 4-0 to Liverpool. But to be fair, Liverpool score 4 every game, so that's actually an easy prediction.
I think I'm going to stick with 2-0 to Arsenal. I feel pretty good about things.
2-0.
2-0.
Wow. Good.
I am going to say we put Michael Carrick out of his misery with a smooth 5-1 at Old Trafford.
Wow.
You heard it here first. 5 goals for the Arsenal as they run riot. Martinelli brace, Aubameyang brace, Lacazette off the bench. 5-1 to United. And the one, of course, will be scored by Ronaldo because he's going to. Maybe even something dumb like they score first and then we go on to absolutely batter them. Jess, you gave us the 1-0 prediction, or was that it?
1-1.
1-1. That's right. 1-1. So that's everyone's predictions. 5-1. Yeah, I am on that good tonight. You better believe it. I had my, so to be fair, before you get mad at me, I had my booster shot of Pfizer today. So I'm just chock full of Pfizer. And if you know anything about that, it gives you this hubris that you can just run out into the street naked and start licking handrails and stuff like that, subway railings and floors and stuff. I might do that later. We'll see. It's not Whippets. It's Pfizer, pure, unadulterated Pfizer. I actually snorted it. I didn't even take a shot. They just put it out in a line on the table and I snorted up some Pfizer.
You didn't get a shot straight into your veins like the kids like to say, right?
Put it in my veins. 5-1, 5G Elliott. That's right. I am a full 5G Elliott. This has been a blast, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. The thousands of you that joined and failed to like or subscribe, thank you for that. We really do appreciate the freeloading. Thank you so much. But yeah, to be fair, yeah, no, Pfizer doesn't make the other stuff, buddy. Okay, no, enough of that. Let's get out of here the way we always do by telling you we love you. Thank you so much for being here. Jess certainly does. And you can find her on Twitter at It's Jessinho. Thank you, Jess.
Thank you so much.
We'll be seeing you soon. Paul is on Twitter at Pause in My Pants. Wouldn't recommend it, but that's where you can find him. Thanks, Paul.
Woohoo!
Woohoo, indeed. Scott, the Blue Man Group.
Yeah,
blue
I do have a
blue
kind
shirt,
of a
blue hue.
blue tint on me going right now.
Bit of a blue tint. Bit of a blue tint, indeed. But Scott is on Twitter at O_that_crab. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Elliot. Talk to you later.
Yep. My name is Elliot Smith. You can block me on Twitter at Yankee Gunner. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We do love you. It is a big game. Come on, Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners. 5-1 he predicted. But just wait till you hear what I'm about to predict in a second. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you enjoy your day. I hope it's a wonderful game. I hope you join us on Patreon for the instant reaction. And if not, for the regular podcast, free for everybody, including the freeloaders who didn't like and subscribe today. We do love you. Have a great day. Enjoy the game. And we will talk to you, as we always do, after Arsenal 10, United no.